Captain Arlen Drake stared out of the observation window of the starship Aurora, his eyes tracing the glittering surface of Illyria. The planet hung in space like a jewel, its crystal towers shimmering under the light of 3 suns. Floating gardens drifted gracefully above glass-like lakes and winding pathways of iridescent stone-connected cities that sparkled like constellations. Illyria was unlike any world humanity had ever seen. Arlen's heart beat faster. He had been sent as a human diplomat, tasked with establishing contact with the Illyrian royal family. Humans had only recently discovered Illyria, and stories of its mysterious people had spread quickly. Yet, despite the planet's beauty, there was something unfamiliar and almost cautious in the way Illyrians regarded outsiders. As the landing bay doors opened, Arlen felt a soft hum under his feet, a subtle vibration that spoke of advanced technology intertwined with the very structure of the planet. Illyrians moved gracefully around him, their clothing flowing and shimmering, reflecting the colors of the environment. Their skin glowed faintly in soft blues and silvers. They spoke a melodic language, but translators made it possible for Arlen to understand every word. "Welcome, Captain Drake," said an Illyrian official, bowing slightly. "You are the first human to set foot in the royal city. Please follow me." Arlen nodded, trying to mask his awe. The official led him through wide streets lined with crystal towers. Energy lights floated overhead like ribbons, and gardens with exotic plants and flowers hovered mid-air, untethered. Arlen marveled at everything. How the Illyrians had built a city that seemed alive, where technology and nature were no longer separate but harmonized. Finally, they reached a grand palace at the heart of the city. Its spires reached toward the sky, catching the sunlight and scattering it like liquid diamonds. Guards in silver armor bowed to the official as they entered, their weapons sleek and strange, glowing faintly at the edges. "Captain Drake, the princess will see you shortly," the official said. "She is unusual, even by Illyrian standards." Arlen raised an eyebrow. "Unusual?" The official hesitated. "She has never appeared without her veil to outsiders. Many wonder why, but none have asked directly." "A veil?" Arlen felt a spark of curiosity. What could a princess hide? And why would she never show her face? He was led into a chamber of light and crystal. A soft hum filled the air, like a distant song. There, standing with a posture both regal and serene, was the princess. She wore a flowing robe of silver and blue, her movements elegant and deliberate. Her face was completely hidden behind a translucent veil that shimmered in colors Arlen could not name. "You may speak freely here, Captain," said a gentle voice, melodic yet commanding. Arlen realized the words came from the princess herself. He bowed slightly, remembering his manners. "Your Highness, it is an honor to meet you." The princess inclined her head. "Captain Drake, you have traveled far. I am pleased to see you have come without fear or haste." "I seek understanding, Your Highness," Arlen said, "and I hope to build a friendship between our peoples." She paused, tilting her head as if considering his words. "Understanding is not always simple. Friendship requires patience, and truth requires courage." Arlen felt a thrill. Here was someone who valued more than titles and ceremonies, someone who saw the soul, not just appearances. Yet her veil hid her expressions, her eyes, her subtle gestures. He could sense her emotions, but only vaguely. The princess gestured toward a balcony that overlooked the city. "Come, Captain, see the world through Illyrian eyes. It is different from what you know." Outside, the city stretched endlessly. Light reflected in thousands of surfaces. Gardens floated like clouds, and streams of energy pulsed gently through the streets. Illyrians moved among the structures with calm grace. Humans might see machines, Arlen realized, but the Illyrians seemed to see life in every circuit, in every stone. "You see beauty," the princess said softly. "But beauty alone does not teach. Observe and try to understand." He watched an elder Illyrian carefully tend a hovering plant, its roots suspended in midair, glowing faintly with energy. A child laughed as she guided a small floating orb through a course, her joy pure and unrestrained. And everywhere he noticed balance between technology and nature, discipline and freedom, structure and creativity. It is unlike anything on Earth, Arlen admitted. We have advanced technology, but it always feels separate. Here, it feels alive. Alive, yes, she said, her voice almost a whisper. Because we treat it as part of us, not a tool. We do not dominate. We harmonize. Arlen felt a stirring in his chest. Humanity could learn much from this world. And yet, he wondered if the princess herself carried a burden behind her veil. Her beauty, her wisdom, and her presence seemed to weigh heavily on her even as she moved with grace. "Why do you hide your face?" he asked, his voice careful. "I mean no disrespect, but—" The princess smiled faintly, though he could not see it. "Some truths are not for the eyes. Some connections are built only through understanding. You will see in time whether you can truly know me." Arlen nodded slowly. A challenge, he realized, to see beyond the veil, to love not what is visible, but what is hidden, precious, and true. He felt a mix of fear and excitement. This mission was not just diplomacy, it was a journey into the unknown, into the heart of a world, and perhaps into the heart of a princess who had never revealed herself. As the sun set over Illyria, casting long golden shadows across the floating gardens and crystal towers, Arlen knew one thing: his life would never be the same. And somewhere beyond the veil, the princess watched him carefully, as if measuring his courage, his heart, and his ability to see the truth. The day of the Festival of Light dawned with Illyria bathed in shimmering gold, silver, and violet hues. Captain Arlen Drake stepped onto the palace balcony, breathing in the crisp, glowing air. All around him the city thrummed with excitement. Floating lanterns drifted in the breeze, leaving trails of soft light. Illyrians of all ages moved gracefully through streets, singing and laughing in a language that sounded like music. "This festival celebrates harmony," the princess explained, standing beside him as always behind her veil. "Harmony between our minds, our spirits, and the life around us." Arlen nodded, captivated. He had seen wonders on other planets, but nothing compared to this. The energy of Illyria was not just in its buildings or gardens, it was in the people, in the very air. He could feel it tugging at his curiosity, his heart, and even his sense of purpose. "Will you show me more?" he asked. The princess tilted her head slightly, a motion so subtle it seemed like a thought rather than movement. "Walk with me. Observe." They moved among the crowd. Children guided floating orbs through intricate courses, their laughter ringing like crystal bells. Elders performed dances that seemed to flow with invisible currents of energy, while musicians played instruments that produced light as well as sound. Arlen watched, fascinated. Each movement, each gesture, seemed carefully balanced, yet entirely natural. "Everything here is alive," Arlen said quietly. "Not just the machines or the plants, but the city itself. It feels aware." The princess did not respond immediately. Then she said, "Awareness is not unique to machines or plants. It comes from understanding, from respect, from care. We treat all things as part of ourselves. That is why Illyria thrives." Arlen felt a deep admiration. Humanity had advanced technology, but often it was used to dominate, to control, to exploit. Here, intelligence and empathy were intertwined. Humans had much to learn from Illyria, he thought. As the festival continued, the princess guided him toward a central square where a large pool reflected the three suns. Illyrians had arranged thousands of floating crystals above it, creating a river of light. As Arlen watched, the crystals shifted and moved, forming shapes of animals, plants, and abstract patterns that seemed to dance to the music. "It is beautiful," he whispered. "Beauty alone is not enough," the princess said softly. "Observe the patterns. They tell stories. They teach. They remind us of connection. Arlen leaned closer to the pool, mesmerized. He could see how each crystal's movement affected the others, creating harmony rather than chaos. It reminded him of humanity's potential, if only humans could learn to work together instead of fighting. Suddenly, a small group of Illyrians approached the princess. They bowed politely, their faces glowing with respect. "Princess, the display of light will soon reach its peak. Many wish to see it, but you may also speak privately with the human." The princess nodded. She glanced at Arlen, her eyes hidden, but her tone soft. "Come, Captain. I want to show you something only a few humans have witnessed." They walked through a quiet garden tucked behind crystal walls. Here, the light of the festival reflected gently in pools of water, creating a calm, magical glow. The princess stopped and gestured toward a small platform. On it floated a single radiant crystal orb, glowing brighter than any Arlen had seen. "This is the heart of Illyria," she said. "It represents our harmony, our knowledge, and our care for one another. Only a few outsiders have ever seen it." Arlen felt a sense of awe. The orb seemed alive, pulsing with a soft rhythm. It was as if it had a heartbeat. He looked at the princess and realized how carefully she had protected this secret. Not to hide power, but to share trust. "Why? Show me this," he asked. "Because trust earned," she replied. "And courage is tested, no." The morning after the Festival of Light, Illyria's skies were soft with the pale glow of twin suns. Captain Arlen Drake walked through the palace gardens, following the princess along pathways lined with floating blossoms that swayed gently in the air. Today felt quieter than the festival, more intimate. Arlen could sense that the princess wanted to speak openly, yet the veil still hid her face. "Captain," the princess began, her voice soft yet precise. "You saw Illyria during its celebration, but a festival shows only the surface. To understand a world, one must understand its heart." Arlen nodded. "Then show me, Your Highness. I want to understand." She stopped by a hovering pool where water shimmered without ripples. "Very well. But first you must answer a question. What do you know of courage and empathy?" Arlen paused, considering. Courage is facing fear, even when the outcome is uncertain. Empathy is understanding another's feelings, even if you cannot feel them yourself. At least that's what I believe. The princess inclined her head slightly. "Correct. But knowing is different from feeling. Action is different from thought. Many humans speak of these qualities, but few live them consistently. Do you?" Arlen met her gaze, feeling the weight of her words even through the veil. "I try. I cannot always succeed, but I try. And if I fail, I learn and I try again." The princess regarded him in silence for a moment. Then she gestured to the pool. "Look into the water, Captain. What do you see?" Arlen leaned over, expecting a reflection of himself or the sky. Instead, he saw shifting patterns, images of Illyrian history, moments of triumph and failure, kindness and cruelty. It was as if the water showed the truth of their world, its beauty, its struggle, its soul. "I see life," Arlen said carefully. "Not just events, but choices, consequences, connection." "Good," the princess said softly. "Humans often see only what is visible. Illyrians see what is hidden, the essence, not the face, not the titles, but the heart." Arlen felt a chill of understanding. Perhaps this was why she remained veiled. The veil was not just a mystery, it was a test. Could someone love her for who she was, not what she looked like? Could someone see her heart without needing to see her face? "Your veil," he began cautiously, "does it hide fear or wisdom?" "Both," she replied, "and more. It hides the truth of loneliness. A princess cannot always reveal herself even to friends. People see the veil, not the mind behind it. They admire, fear, or desire. Rarely do they understand." Arlen nodded slowly. I want to understand truly. She seemed to consider this, then led him to a terrace overlooking a forest of floating trees. Light sparkled through the leaves in rainbow patterns. Tell me, Captain, what do humans fear most? Failure, he said immediately. Losing those we care for. Not living up to who we hope to be. She seemed to smile faintly. And yet, humans often allow fear to rule their actions. Courage requires choosing despite fear. Love requires choosing despite uncertainty. Can you love someone you do not fully understand? Arlen hesitated. The question struck deeper than he expected. I want to try. To understand you, even if it is hard. Even if I cannot see everything. The princess lifted her hand slightly, brushing it over the floating leaves. Then listen carefully, Captain. Illyrians have long memories. We cherish history, knowledge, and connection. We value trust above all, and we weigh every action by its impact on others. Can your species do this? Arlen thought of humanity's struggles, the wars, the greed, the mistakes, but also of the moments of heroism, of selfless sacrifice, of children who dreamed of better worlds. We can, some of us already do, and we can learn from you. The royal princess's tone softened. That is why I observe you. Humans have courage and imagination, but to walk beside an Illyrian, one must see beyond appearances, one must understand the heart, and one must choose carefully. They walked in silence for a while, watching the forest glow as the suns climbed higher. Then the princess stopped near a crystal bridge, its edges glowing faintly. Come closer, Captain. I will show you something few outsiders ever see. Arlen followed, curious. She extended a hand, not touching him but guiding his attention to a small hidden chamber beneath the bridge. Inside, intricate patterns of light and energy formed images of Illyria's past. Great achievements, moments of sorrow, and personal stories of every princess for centuries. This is our heritage, she said. Not just victories, but choices. Each princess carries the weight of all who came before her. And now I carry the responsibility for the future. It is why the veil matters. It protects not only me, but all who depend on my judgment. Arlen felt the weight of her words. Her life was not her own. Her trust could not be given lightly. And yet, he felt honored that she shared even this glimpse with him. Your Highness, he said softly, I cannot imagine the pressure you bear, but I promise I will respect your trust. I will learn from you, and I will try to see the world as you do. The princess paused, as if measuring his sincerity. Then she spoke, her voice a whisper carried by the soft wind. Perhaps, Captain, you are beginning to understand, but understanding is not enough. Can you act? Can you prove that your heart is true even when the veil remains? Arlen looked at her, determination growing within him. I will act, and I will not look for what is hidden. I will respect it, and I will learn from it. For the first time, the princess seemed to relax slightly. We shall see, Captain, we shall see. As they walked back to the palace, the suns casting long shadows over the floating forests, Arlen realized that Illyria was more than a planet, and the princess more than a ruler. She was a test, a teacher, and perhaps a mirror for humanity itself, and somewhere beneath the veil she had begun to measure him, not just as a human, but as a being capable of courage, understanding, and love. For Arlen Drake, the journey had grown deeper than diplomacy. It was now a journey of the heart, a test of trust, and a challenge to prove that humanity could reach beyond fear and appearances, and perhaps one day be worthy of what lay beneath the veil. The next morning, Illyria was calm and serene, but Captain Arlen Drake sensed an undercurrent of tension beneath the beauty. The crystal towers shone in the sunlight, the floating gardens glided gently above the streets, and Illyrians moved gracefully as always, but Arlen could feel unease in the air. Your Highness, he said, speaking quietly as he followed the princess through a corridor of floating lights. Is everything well in the city? The princess's voice was steady. but Arlen sensed a shadow behind it. Not all shadows are seen, Captain. Some linger where trust is tested, some seek to control what should not be controlled. Before Arlen could ask more, an aide arrived in haste. Princess, reports of unrest in the council. Some members question your openness to humans. They see outsiders as a threat. The princess inclined her head, her hand brushing the edge of her veil. I expected resistance. Change always brings fear. But fear is not wisdom. Courage and understanding must prevail. Arlen felt a chill. A plot against the princess? This was far beyond diplomacy. What can I do to help? He asked, ready to act. She looked at him, her eyes hidden, yet he felt the weight of her trust. Walk with me, Captain. You must see the threat, understand it, and learn. Only then will you know your role. They entered a council chamber unlike any Arlen had seen. The walls were crystal, transparent, but filled with shifting patterns of light. The Illyrian Council was in session, their faces calm but eyes sharp. Whispers traveled like currents through the room. One council member, a tall Illyrian with silver hair, spoke quietly to another, unaware that Arlen could understand. Via translator, the human's influence grows. If the princess does not close herself, our people may lose control. Arlen's heart raced. They saw him as part of the problem, not the solution. He realized diplomacy alone would not suffice. Courage, action, and careful strategy were needed. The princess turned to him. These are the shadows I spoke of. Do not fear them, but do not underestimate them. Observe, Captain. Learn the currents of their thought. Over the next hours, Arlen watched council members debate, subtle motions and coded gestures revealing alliances and rivalries. Illyrians spoke of trust, progress, and tradition, but under every polite word lurked suspicion. He realized that the princess's position was not simply a matter of ceremony, it was a delicate balance of power, respect, and perception. Later, in the privacy of a high balcony, the princess spoke again. Captain, you must understand our people's fears even if you cannot agree with them. They resist not only you, but the idea of change. And I cannot reveal myself fully until I know you can protect what must be protected. Arlen felt the enormity of her words. Protect? How could he, a human, protect a princess from a conspiracy in an alien city? Yet he also knew he could not stand aside. I will do whatever is needed, Your Highness. I will learn, I will act, and I will keep your trust. The princess's hand rested lightly on the balcony rail. Then the test begins, Captain. Tonight you will see not only the beauty of Illyria, but its hidden dangers. As night fell, the city shimmered under the light of the 3 moons. Arlen followed the princess through quiet streets, their path illuminated by floating lanterns. They reached a hidden passage beneath the palace, a corridor known only to a few trusted aides. Some within the council planned to isolate Illyria. She whispered, They see humans as a threat, and me as wooing openness. The night was deep, and Illyria glowed under the soft light of 3 moons. Captain Arlen Drake moved silently through the palace corridors, following the princess. Tonight was unlike any other. The council's descent had grown bold, and a plan to isolate Illyria and remove the princess had begun to unfold. Are you ready, Captain? The princess asked, her voice calm yet firm, even though her face remained hidden behind the veil. Arlen nodded. I am. I will follow your lead, and I will act when needed. She paused at a balcony overlooking the main council chamber. From here they could see the council members gathering. Arlen's translator picked up whispered words, plans of secrecy, fear, and control. Some council members were loyal, but others were plotting to strike when the city was distracted by the Festival of Light celebrations. Timing is crucial, the princess said. We cannot act with anger, only with clarity and courage, you understand? I understand, Arlen said, his heart racing. Together, they descended through hidden stairways and secret passages that led to the central chamber. The air thrummed, softly with Illyrian energy, alive with ancient technology that pulsed like a heartbeat. The conspirators did not notice them approaching. The princess whispered instructions. "Captain, your task is to distract them. I will guide the loyal members and protect the heart of Illyria." Arlen's mind raced. This was far beyond diplomacy. He had never faced such a test. But he trusted her, and he trusted himself. Taking a deep breath, he stepped into the council chamber, using his presence to draw attention. "Members of the council," Arlen said firmly, "you risk Illyria by choosing fear over wisdom. This planet is more than power or tradition. It is a world built on understanding, courage, and harmony. Listen before you act rashly." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Some council members looked shocked, others suspicious. But Arlen held his ground, speaking with a mix of human determination and genuine care. The princess moved through the chamber, guiding loyal members, her gestures precise and elegant. Arlen noticed how seamlessly she worked, commanding respect, not by force but by trust and intellect. She was remarkable, not only a leader but a being of extraordinary courage. Suddenly, one of the conspirators advanced toward the heart of Illyria, a crystal orb glowing brighter than ever. Arlen moved instinctively, stepping in the path to block them. The conspirator hesitated, startled by his human courage. The princess's voice rang out, calm yet unyielding. "Stop. Illyria does not belong to fear. It belongs to those who protect it, not control it." In that moment, the princess did something Arlen had not expected. She lifted her veil completely, revealing her face. Her features were breathtaking, sharp, intelligent, yet soft with empathy. Her eyes glowed faintly with the same energy that pulsed through the city, and Arlen felt as if he could see her thoughts, her courage, and her wisdom all at once. "You see me now," she whispered, her voice steady. "I do not hide to deceive, I hide to protect. To know me is to trust me, not my appearance." Arlen's heart pounded. He had known her courage, her intellect, her soul, but seeing her fully without the veil was both overwhelming and humbling. "I see you," he said softly, "and I respect everything you are, not because of what I see, but because of who you are." The conspirators faltered, unsure how to respond. The display of trust and courage, the princess's openness, and Arlen's defense of her inspired a shift. The loyal council members stepped forward, their presence reinforcing her authority. "You have proven your heart, Captain," she said. "Now we act together, not as humans and Illyrians, but as guardians of this world." With coordinated precision, the princess and Arlen guided the council chamber. Subtle signals, careful words, and acts of courage neutralized the dissenters. Without harm, those who resisted were gently restrained by loyal Illyrians, who acted with respect rather than violence. Arlen realized that true leadership was not about power or fear. It was about trust, understanding, and the courage to act rightly, even under immense pressure. And the princess exemplified this in every motion, every word, every decision. Finally, the council settled. The conspirators were confronted, their fears acknowledged, but Illyria remained intact. The city's energy shifted, glowing brighter as the tension dissolved. Arlen and the princess stepped onto the balcony above the chamber, looking out over the city. "You have done well," she said. "Tonight you have proven that humans can rise to the challenge. You have shown courage, understanding, and respect. That is the heart of Illyria." Arlen bowed slightly, humbled. "It is not just me, Your Highness. It is your guidance, your courage, your trust. I only followed your lead." The princess's eyes softened. "Trust is rare, Captain. You have earned mine, and now perhaps I can choose to show myself not as a symbol, but as a being who hopes, who fears, who believes. That is the gift of the veil, and the gift of trust." Arlen nodded, feeling a warmth and connection that went beyond words. For the first time he realized that love, respect, and understanding were not about appearances. They were about the choices made in the heart. The moons reflected off the crystal towers, bathing Illyria in silver light. The festival had ended, but a new understanding had begun, between Illyrians and humans, between the princess and her allies, and between Arlen and the woman behind the veil. Tonight, We have faced shadows, the princess said softly. And yet, we have not feared them. We have acted with courage, wisdom, and compassion. That is the power that shapes worlds, Captain. Arlen looked at her, truly seeing her for the first time. And that is the power that inspires hope, he said. They stood together on the balcony, the city beneath them glowing and alive. Arlen understood that Illyria was not just a planet of beauty, but a world of values, trust, courage, wisdom, and love. And the princess finally revealed, embodied all of it. For the first time, Arlen felt that their bond was not tested by appearances or mystery, but by shared courage and understanding. And in that moment, he knew that their journey was only beginning, a journey of trust, of hope, and of love that could bridge worlds. The next morning, Illyria shone with a brighter light. The 3 moons had faded into the pale blue sky, and the city hummed gently, as though it too had survived the night's trials. Captain Arlen Drake walked beside Princess Serenia through the palace gardens, where flowers glowed with colors unknown to Earth. The air was calm, but both of them knew the peace was fragile. The council had been tested. The conspirators were not destroyed, but instead given a chance to return with humility. That decision had surprised Arlen. Back on Earth, betrayal would have been punished harshly. But Serenia's way was different. She believed in guiding even those who had lost their path. You could have crushed them, Arlen said softly as they walked. Why show them mercy? Serenia turned to him, her veil still absent, her true face calm and radiant. Because fear creates more fear, Captain. Illyria is not strong because of power, it is strong because of trust. If I remove that trust, what remains? Arlen thought about her words. Humans often fought wars to prove strength, but Illyria's strength came from harmony, from balance. It was something humanity still struggled to understand. They reached the edge of the garden where a high platform overlooked the entire city. The crystal towers shimmered, reflecting the morning light. At the center, the heart of Illyria pulsed with steady energy, its glow stronger than the day before. It is alive, Arlen whispered, staring at the crystal. Yes, Serenia replied. It is our guide. When we act with wisdom and unity, the heart shines brighter. Last night it responded to us. To you, Captain. It felt your courage. Arlen was silent. He had never imagined that his actions could affect an alien world. He was only one man, but somehow he had become part of something greater. Later that day, the council gathered again, this time in open unity. The chamber was calm. Serenia stood at the center, her voice carrying across the hall. Illyria has endured many seasons, and now we face a choice. We can close ourselves in fear, or we can open ourselves to trust. Yesterday, fear nearly won. But courage prevailed. Not only Illyrian courage, but also the courage of a visitor from Earth. She gestured toward Arlen. Every eye turned to him. He felt the weight of their gaze, but he did not flinch. I am not Illyrian, Arlen said, his voice steady. I do not have your wisdom, your traditions, or your history, but I know this. Life is fragile everywhere, and it survives only when people stand together. Last night I saw trust defeat fear. That is something both humans and Illyrians must remember. A ripple of agreement passed through the chamber. The council members nodded, some even bowing their heads in respect. After the council ended, Serenia walked with Arlen to the balcony once more. The city below was alive with music and celebration. The Festival of Light had been delayed but not abandoned. Now it carried new meaning. They honor us, Serenia said quietly, not because of who we are, but because of what we chose. Arlen smiled. Back home, we would call this history in the making. She turned to him, her eyes glowing faintly in the silver light. And what will history say about us, Captain? That we were rulers and soldiers? Or that we were something more? Arlen hesitated, his heart beating faster. The veil was gone now. He could see her clearly, and there was nothing to hide behind. History might say that we chose to trust, that we chose to see each other not as alien or human, but as companion.